Hey everybody, I'm Corinne Blackstone and welcome to my craft room. Before we get started, be sure to hit that big red subscribe button down below. That way you don't miss out on any of the fun crafty content we have coming, and we have a lot coming in the month of November and December to get you ready for all the fun crafts that you can make. Now in today's video, we are going to make some really cute little Christmas trees. You're going to be able to find the SVGs for these on my website, and you can really do them in so many different ways. And I'm going to show you how to make this big tall one, and then a quick little one on this little one with the jingle bells that can be the perfect little ornament. They're so easy to do. There is no sewing involved, but if you are someone who can sew, you can absolutely sew these. I cannot sew, but you're just going to need some felt, hot glue, a dowel rod, and then some sort of flat surface to glue the dowel rod to. I chose to use some wood slices, but you can use whatever you want. And then you can just decorate this however you want. I used HTV, I used some jingle bells, and then some fun like mini Christmas tree decorations for this one. It was really fun to do, but you can decorate them any way you want. This would be a really fun thing to do with the kids, to let them decorate their own little mini trees. And these are just really cute, simplistic designs and really cute items that you can add to your holiday decor. So let's go ahead and get started. We are, of course, working in Design Space, and what's really great about this project is you can pretty much do it with any of the machines. Now, I'm going to use my Maker, but you can absolutely cut felt on both the Joy and the Explore machines as well. You'll just need to mess around with it a little bit more, and these will come out a little bit small on the Joy, but they might be perfect for like a Christmas village or just like a little additional piece. So the first thing I'm going to do is show you how to upload the SVGs. It's very, very easy to upload designs for Cricut Design Space, and you'll be able to buy these on my website, CorinneBlackstone.com, but really you can make your own. It's really easy. So what I'm going to do is choose Upload, and then I'm going to choose Upload Image. Then all you have to do is click Browse and find where you saved your design. So for me, I always save everything into like that I'm going to use with my Cricut in my Cricut folder, and then they're all done by categories. So in this one, it is Christmas. And then I'm going to scroll down to find the Christmas tree felt ones, because I titled them Felt Circles, Nordic, Stars, and then just the plain one. So I'll upload all of them so you can see what they look like, and then we'll do one together. So this is just the plain felt tree, and you can decorate this in any way that you want. It's really fun to add your own embellishments. So I wanted to give you a plain tree, and these will all come in the same file, so you'll have all of these felt trees. So I'm going to upload the rest of them just so you guys can see what they all look like. It's really easy to work with all of them. I designed them all myself. I really had a fun time with this one. I did some simple ones, but then I also did one that's much more fancy and is going to probably take a while to weed, but I think will be really worth it when it's done, and that is this Nordic one. This one has a lot of weeding, but I think it'll be really cute. So let me go ahead and finish uploading, and then I'll show you what they all look like in Design Space. Once I have the 4 designs uploaded, which are the stars, the Nordic, the circles, and then just the plain tree, I'm going to select each and every one of them, and I'm going to go ahead and click Add to Canvas. Once they're all in Design Space, I'm going to go ahead and just grab them all and scooch them over so you can really get a look. Now again, you can cut these in any colors that you want, in any type of designs that you want. It's really up to you. So there we have the circles. Here's the Nordic one, which is really fun, but again, that's going to be a lot of weeding. What is really fun too is that you could obviously use lots of different ways to do this. You could use glitter, you could use regular HTV, you can use holographic, so do whatever you want. Then we have the stars and then just the plain one. And this one, like I said, you can add your own embellishments to. So I'm going to cut this one out to give you guys some ideas on what you can do and how you can like design the tree and make it your own. Now this is a no-sew pattern, but you can absolutely sew them if you know how to sew. I secretly have no idea how to sew. So I like to do things with hot glue, and I think this is going to work really, really well with hot glue. So should be just fine. Now I'm going to cut these as large as I can. I have 9 by 12 sheets of felt. So I'm going to do 11.5 high on these, which will still fit within my cut space. You can make them as big or as small as you want to. It's really up to you. And you can get longer sheets of felt as well. It's really, like I said, it's really up to you and how you want to do it. So I'm going to just change the sizing on each of the trees. I'm just going to make them all 11.5. That's kind of the nice thing, is that you really have a lot of space to work with when cutting these, so it's super fun to do. So again, I'm just going to resize all of them. We're only going to cut out one, but you just, like I said, do what you want. That's what's really fun about Christmas decorations, or really decorations in general. You can make them however you want. Now, I'm going to go ahead and do the Nordic one. I'm going to be a brave little soldier and attempt to weed this. So I'm going to get rid of the stars one and the circles one, because we're just going to go ahead and do a plain one, and I'm going to embellish it with some other things, and then we'll do the Nordic one. So the first key that you want to do is you're going to need 2 sides. Now, it's up to you whether you want to decorate both sides or whether you just want to decorate one side. In this case, I'm just going to decorate one side of this. So what I want to do is, if you're just working with one tree, you don't have this blank one, click ungroup, and you want to duplicate just the plain black tree. Now you can do that by either clicking this little duplicate button up here, or you can move the tree over, right click on it, and click duplicate. Now the nice thing is this tree is the same backwards and forwards, so you don't need to mirror it at any point. I'm going to do the same for this little guy. I'm going to duplicate him because I need a back and a front for our tree. Now again, if you want to do the Nordic on both sides, you would need to duplicate this as well. But I don't want to do that because it's just a lot of weeding and I just don't feel like dealing with that. So I'm only going to do it on one side of the felt. But again, you can really do it however you want, and it might be fun to add different sides so that you can kind of flip them around. Now we are cutting this on felt. I'm just using acrylic felt from Michaels, and I'm using my maker, so I'm going to use my rotary tool for this. And then I'm also cutting this on HTV, so just to be safe, I'm going to mirror it. To mirror my items, I always just use flip, and I flip them horizontally. Now you're not going to notice a whole lot of change just because it doesn't really matter. It fits the same either way. You don't necessarily have to flip it because there's no words. If you wanted to add words to your tree, make sure that when you're using HTV that you do mirror the image. So now when I click make it, what you're going to see is it's going to split everything out into the different pages. So for example, right here, you're going to have 4 different black ones for the trees. You can cut your trees out in any color that you want. And then I'm going to have one that is red for our HTV. I cut my felt on the acrylic felt setting so that it uses the rotary blade, and it works really, really well. This is a pretty simple design, so using your maker is a great option, but if you only have an Explorer, you can do this with the fine point blade, or the fabric bonded blade is another option to use. I'm going to go ahead and take you over to the machine. I'm going to show you how to change out your tool for your maker and how to cut out each of your trees. Then we'll add the HTV, assemble them, and we'll have some really cute, fun decor. The first thing that we're going to do is cut out the HTV. So I'm going to be using StarCraft Soft Flex for this, and I just have a 5-yard roll. So I'm just going to go ahead and place this on to my mat and just get this laid down. And then I'm going to load my machine. This just cuts on the everyday iron-on setting. Make sure that you do place it with the carrier sheet side down. You'll note that this side is pretty shiny. That's why I say carrier sheet side and not just shiny side, because they can both be kind of misconstrued. You can see how shiny one side is, but they're both relatively shiny.
Jingle bells ringing in my ear. Jingle bell, a sound that's oh so dear. Frosty the snowman is all around town. Watch out for reindeers are falling down. We stay up waiting for Santa tonight. He climbs down the chimney at the speed of light, while we're dancing around the Christmas tree, hugging and kissing, just you and me. Carolers are singing outside our door, lovely songs we all heard.
That was a super long cut. It does take forever because it is a lot of small pieces. So I'm going to go ahead, unload this from the mat, but I think first I'm going to go ahead and trim it with my scissors just so I don't waste a ton of HTV. So I just find the bottom of the design and I'm just going to trim along the edge here. And then I'm going to show you how to load your felt so that you don't make a big mess of your mat. So for the way that I cut felt, I use a strong grip mat and then I use transfer tape. This is just one of those really easy hacks that I love to use when it comes to making sure that my mat doesn't get damaged. So what I do is I take my transfer tape, and this is a little bit loud, so I'm going to go real quick. And I put it on my mat. So I do it very similar to how I load my vinyl, where I will take my mat, slip it under my machine, and then I will kind of place my transfer tape onto my mat and line it up. Now I try to get it as straight as I can, and I try to make sure that it covers as much of the mat as I can, because that way we don't end up with fluffies all over the mat from our felt. So once I lay it down, I just take my scissors and I just kind of cut along the bottom as best I can. It does not have to be completely straight, but straighter the better. Then I just very gently take my hands and run it over the transfer tape. If you stick them too hard to the transfer tape, you'll pull the tape up. Now you can absolutely trim off some of the stuff at the top if you want to, just to kind of help it from getting stuck in your machine. I like to trim a lot of this off, again, just to kind of make it so that it sticks a lot better to my mat and I don't really have to worry. But again, you don't really need to press super hard. You'll press harder once you have your felt on your mat, which will help stick your transfer tape down. So I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna start with this pretty light green felt, and we're gonna cut 2 trees out of this. These are going to be our smaller trees. So like I said, see how I'm going to be able to press down harder once I have the felt on the mat? That'll help hold that transfer tape down. So I'm just pressing it with my hands. Now we do need to change our tool, so let me show you how to do that. It's super easy. Now what you want to do is you're going to open up clamp B and pull out your fine point blade. I like to just put that in the little pocket next to my machine here. And then you're going to use your rotary tool, which is not in a quick swap housing, so it doesn't have the button on the top. And you're gonna load the gold gear to face the gold gear inside the machine. Then you wanna make sure that you close clamp A, and from here we can now load. So remember, I like to cut on the acrylic felt setting, which is the perfect setting when it comes to cutting like the Michaels felt. Once it's done cutting, I don't unload first. I always check the cut just to make sure that it cut through. So I just kind of pull up the felt and it looks like it cut beautifully. So I'm gonna go ahead and unload this. Now I'm gonna close the door so that you guys can see, and I'm gonna slide the machine out of the way just a little bit so that you can see how I unload this, because we're gonna continue to use the same piece of transfer tape. So I'm just gently going to peel the felt away from the trees. Now these are going to be our smaller trees, and I'm going to cut 2 big trees that we're going to use with our HTV. So what you want to do is just very gently peel these back, because the transfer tape has been cut through, but I want to continue to use that same tape. So I just make it a little bit easier, so I just gently peel these up. Now we're going to be cutting big trees on this dark green felt. This was 33 cents from Hobby Lobby. So this is a great deal, and it's perfect for these trees because it's a little bit thin, so it'll cut really nicely. Now this one I need to lay this direction because our trees are longer than they are wide. And you just want to make sure that, again, you just press your felt down really well onto that transfer tape. And we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to go ahead and load. And this, again, also cuts on that acrylic felt setting. So we'll let this one cut out, and then we'll cut the next one, and then we'll be set to go.
All across the town, played it with me under the mistletoe, while Santa's busy saying ho ho ho. We're feeling jolly, eating Christmas cake, and then we go skating on the frozen lake, saying hi to every friendly face, and later we warm up by the fireplace. Carolers are singing.
Now if you're done cutting, you can absolutely peel off your transfer tape. I'm going to leave mine on because I do want to cut a few more trees out, that I'll show you at the end of the video, so I'm gonna leave it on, but normally you can just peel this off. You'll have some smaller parts where it's gonna cut through a couple times. Just use a scraper, it comes right off. But now I'm gonna go ahead and weed the HTV, which hopefully shouldn't take too long, and then we're gonna press it on to one of our big trees, and then I'll show you how to assemble everything.
Before, as they walk from house to house to wish us all a Merry Christmas Day. Merry Christmas Day. A Merry Christmas Day.
I'm gonna go ahead and use the Cricut Easy Press Mini for this. I don't feel like heating up my whole big heat press, and I really don't need to for this. So what you wanna do is take your HTV and you're going to line it up onto your felt. Now this may take you a few minutes, so don't fret if you're kind of moving it around a little bit and adjusting, because this does go all the way to the edge. And if it's not perfect, that's kind of the beauty of the Nordic design. If it's not perfect, it's not the end of the world, because you're not really going to notice, because up here at the top it's a little bit wide, but that's okay. Now I do want to make sure to put some parchment paper under this as well as over this. I want to go under it just because there is a little bit of overhang of the HTV, and we'll trim that off if we need to. So now that my press is ready to go, I'm just going to take a piece of parchment paper and cover the design. And then I'm gonna take my heat press and I'm just gonna run it all over the design. Now this is StarCraft Softflex, so pressing this on the second setting on your mini press, and then you just wanna use kind of a medium pressure. You don't have to press with all your body weight. And the nice thing is felt really does like HTV, so it's an easy process. So I'll usually kind of do the top half of the tree, and then I'll move on to the bottom section. And I just kind of run my press all over it. Now, typically I say don't move your press when you're pressing, but with this mini press, it's fine. And since we're only using felt and this doesn't have to be perfect, it's completely okay to move it. I would not move it when you're doing a shirt. That is not the correct way to press a shirt. But for a felt item like this, that's just a piece of decor. It's not going to be washed or anything like that. This is absolutely fine. So I'm just going to make sure I went over all of the design. I just want to make sure everything is pressed. I want to make sure I get all these little spots. So I just like to kind of go around the edge. And you can see I'm not spending a lot of time on any certain spots just so I don't burn them. But I just want to make sure all these little squares are pressed. So again, I'm just going to kind of go into the middle. That looks pretty good. So now what you'll do, you're going to take your carrier sheet and you're going to peel it back. Now I would recommend going slow so that you can make sure that the HTV did stay on, and if you have any little squares that want to come up, you can just repress that section. But this should have worked just fine because, like I said, HTV really likes felt, and oh, this is so darn cute. Now I did lose a few little squares in the weeding process, and I see I missed a little spot, and there's a little section here that had some extra squares. It's fine. This is kind of a design that lends itself to having any kind of mistakes hidden really, really well. Now I'm going to show you how to attach both pieces together so that we can create this little like pillow, so to speak, and then we can assemble everything together. So for this next section, you're going to need some hot milk glue, doesn't matter, whatever kind you like. I have some dowel rods and some wood slices. And then I also have our trees and some polyfill. You can pretty much find polyfill anywhere. So first what I want to do is I'm going to grab my dowel rod because I like to put this in first versus doing the polyfill first. I just find it easier because then I don't have to shove the polyfill out of the way. So what I'm going to do is I just take a little line of glue. You don't have to use a ton. I just kind of glob some glue on there next to the dowel rod, and then I just roll the dowel rod over it and then just press it down. If you have globs of glue, it's totally fine. Nobody is going to see them. They're on the inside. But I like to just put the dowel rod down first. Just for me, it's just easier. And then I'm gonna let this dry because I don't want the insides to stick together because I want to be able to put some of the polyfill inside of them just to make them puffy. Now you don't have to do that. You can absolutely have flatter trees if you want. It's really up to you and how you want to do it. So let me go ahead and let this glue dry a little bit, and then I will show you, we're gonna glue the tree and then we'll add the polyfill. Now that the glue has dried so it's not sticky anymore, I'm gonna put the top tree on. So all I do is I actually just kind of put a little dab of glue right here at the top just to get started so that I can kind of get everything lined up really nice and neat. If it's not perfect, I'm really not concerned about it. It's fine, like it's just a fun decor piece, does not have to be perfect. So once I get that top corner, I'm gonna take glue and I'm just gonna run it along the edge, and I totally just glued my table because I can't be trusted to glue things. If you get hot melt glue on your table, it's fine. It comes right off. I don't know why I acted like it was a big deal. And sometimes it doesn't always stick great, so just take your time and you're just gonna put a line of glue. And I do like to kind of make this one have a little bit more glue than I did along the top of it, just because that way it will have a little more hold because it's going to hold in the polyfill. So I'm just gonna get that put down. And I'll do the other side. And we're just gonna glue all the way around our tree. So you can just go all the way around. We're not gonna fully glue the tree just yet. We're gonna leave the bottom open. And you just wanna put glue around the edge. You don't wanna put any glue in the middle because that's where the polyfill is going to go. So I'm gonna go ahead and get the glue all the way around. Like I said, we're gonna leave the bottom open. So only glue around the edges up to the bottom. Once you have all the sides glued, give that a few minutes to cool and dry and really just kind of become one with the felt, because if you try to put the polyfill in right now, you're gonna end up popping the seams open, and you also have polyfill that's gonna wanna stick to the glue inside. It's just a mess. So just give it a few moments and let that fully cool and dry. Now that that glue has cooled, I'm gonna take some of my polyfill. This does not take a lot. You can really make them as puffy as you want them to be, but what I like to do is I kind of pull the puff apart a little bit, all that polyfill. I just sort of loosen it because it does come kind of clumpy, and I just loosen it up a little bit. And then I'm just gonna take a small amount to start, and I'm gonna stuff it up into the tippity top of the tree. Just a little bit up there. You don't need a ton, but if you want puffy trees, make your trees as puffy as you want. There's no right or wrong way to really make your trees. You decorate them how you want, you puff them if you want, you leave them flat. It's completely up to you. You can also not use a dowel rod. There's just a lot of ways that you can make these trees and make them your own and make your own decorations. So I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of fill my tree a little bit. And again, you really don't need a ton. It's up to you. I think that's pretty good. I want to just put a little bit of puff in that like arm of the tree, and I just want to get a little bit in that arm. And then you'll notice that I really don't have a lot at the bottom yet because I'm going to glue the bottom shut just a smidge before I put any more in. Because I found that if you don't do that, it's hard to close the bottom without a lot of polyfill sticking through. So I like to just kind of glue the bottom section, but I don't glue where the trunk is. So I just glue this bottom seam, and then I glue this bottom seam. So I glue the other side, and I leave that trunk open for a little bit. And that way I can use the trunk to place the rest of our polyfill in. So I'm just gonna kind of get this all put down. We're gonna let the bottom section cool now, and then we can add the rest of the polyfill to the bottom, and then I'll show you how to attach the little wood slice to make your tree stand up. Once that has cooled a bit, I'm gonna go ahead and put the last bit of polyfill in. Again, do whatever you want. If you want a big puffy tree it. If you want a little puffy tree, little puff it. It's up to you and how you want to do it. And you can get polyfill, like I said, anywhere: Amazon, Walmart, Joann, Michaels. So I have a lot of polyfill because I do crochet stuffed animals, But if you don't have a lot and you don't want a lot, you can definitely get small bags from those places. So once I've got my polyfill into my bottom, I just sort of make sure I'm happy with it, kind of make sure to push it out a little bit. And now we can glue that last little section closed. So I just want to make sure I get some glue right here on this little seam. So I'm going to put some glue there, and then I just want to gently pinch that shut. Be careful because the glue seeps out just a little. You don't want to burn your fingers. And then I want to make sure that I glue all around the trunk. So I just am going to put glue all around the trunk. And I like to work in smaller sections when doing the bottom portion, just because sometimes the trunk doesn't always perfectly match up because of the polyfill. So you may want to just kind of take a few moments and play with that a little bit. And I do occasionally have sections that like need to be pinched longer. So just, if it's not sticking great, just pinch it back together. It's fine. So I'm going to hold these down for just a minute, and then we'll get the trunk glued together. And then I'll show you how to put this on to your wood round. Now, I got these little Christmas wood rounds from Hobby Lobby. They are just fun little rounds. So what you're going to do is take and put some glue on the bottom, and you're going to put your dowel rod into that glue, and then you're going to need to hold it. Now, you can cover up your glue in a couple different ways, and I'll show you an option of how I'm going to do it, just because I think it'll be a fun little look. So I'm just going to put quite a bit. I put a few dabbles, and then I want to take my dowel rod, and I'm going to kind of swirl it into the glue. And then this part, you're going to need to hold on to your dowel rod for a little bit. So you're going to be prepared to just sort of stand here and hang on to your tree. This here is just a quick one that I made in kind of an ornament style. So I just took a little piece of ribbon and folded it and glued it inside of the tree. That way you could hang it on your Christmas tree or wherever you want to. It's really up to you. The assembly is all really the same. You're just going to follow along the edge, line them up, and just put that little hot glue all along the edge. You're going to do that again to all the edges, and you want to make sure you get the top two right where that ribbon is. That's super important because if you don't, polyfill will pop out the top. Now I just follow again along the edge, and I just make sure not to glue down the bottom so that I can put the polyfill in there. Now I did run out of glue, so I needed to fix that. But this is such a fun little project to do, and I love that you could make a bunch of these and let your kids decorate them, give them some Elmer's glue or whatever. They don't have to use hot glue on these, but I decided to use some mini bells that I got from Hobby Lobby. Now you'll see that I did add a little bit more stuffing before I fully finished, just because it wasn't quite fluffy enough at the bottom. Make sure that you do glue your stem down really well, or your trunk, and then I just used some tweezers and laid out all of my little bells with just little dabs of hot glue. But again, if you're going to do this with kids, they can use any kind of glue that you want that's safe for them. It will work on felt, so it's super easy to do, and this was just a really fun way to make this little tree pattern a little bit different. Here are the finished trees. I think these came out really cute. And like I said, I'd show you how I kind of hid the hot glue on that one. I just put a little bow on the bottom. I am not a bow maker. That was kind of the best I could do, but I think it worked out just fine. So what I did with this is the HTV. I think it came out really, really cute. And then I put some bells on the little ornament style one. And then on this green tree here, this bright green, I used some decorations from Hobby Lobby that are made for like the mini Christmas trees. And I think it was absolutely perfect on these. But like I said, you can really be super creative. Do whatever you want with them. You can add snow to the bottom. These are just the perfect little like minimalistic designed tree. Super easy to do. Now, like I said, I can't sew to save my life, so I used hot glue. But if you are someone who can sew, you can 100% sew these trees. And you can find the SVG for these on my website. I've linked it down below for you, so be sure to check it out. And if you guys have any questions about this or anything else crafty, please let me know in those comments down below. I am always happy to answer those for you. And be sure to subscribe to the channel, that way you don't miss out on any of the fun crafty content that we have coming out for you guys this holiday season and beyond. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and as always, happy crafting!